Today we're going to be talking about 9 things that happen at a Marine Corps mess night that a lot of civilians wouldn't understand. If you're not familiar, mess night is a very old Marine Corps tradition. This is just like a fun camaraderie night that the Marine Corps does, and they get pretty rowdy. Not every unit does these, but every time I've done one, it's been a real blast. The first thing is the grog. Now, this is probably the first thing anyone's going to mention whenever they mention a mess night or have partaken in a mess night. The grog is basically just a whole bunch of crap piled into a grog, a big pot, if you will, that people drink out of as punishment or throughout the ceremonies. This is, I've been in a non-alcoholic mess night once before, but generally speaking, this is like a ton of beer, every different kind of hard liquor you can imagine mixed together. Plus, they then throw in like hot sauces and mustards and ketchups and sauces and seasonings and all kinds of just gross, disgusting stuff. And then throughout the night, you might get punished and have to go drink from the grog, and it just becomes this whole nasty thing in which inevitably people will then throw up said grog. Number 2 is the fines. Basically, another form of punishment, but also if you do not want to take the grog, you can then be fined, and that money can then go later to pay for mess night, pay for future unit events. And so you can sometimes get out of the grog via a fine, but it's much heftier than if you were just fined in the first place. Number 3 is the public call-outs. And so there's like a very specific format that you have to do, but we get some really incredible stories. And so there's a whole point where you're doing fines where people can essentially say, hey, I'd like permission to address the president of the mess. And then they can say like, oh, a terrible thing has occurred. And the whole group will be like, say it ain't so. And, oh, it is so. And then you tell a story. And basically, the better you can weave the story, the more likely it is that the person you're spinning the tale for gets punished via a fine or the grog, rather than you getting punished for coming up with a really crappy story, which I have seen. This gets really interesting because there's all kinds of rules to mess night. Like one of them is you can't have a cell phone. And so people will try to like smuggle a phone in to their friend's uniform or their friend's seat and try to then be like, oh, he brought a phone. It's like, oh no, say it ain't so. And he's like, no, I didn't. And they're like, oh, check under your seat. And then there happens to be a phone strapped there. I've seen all kinds of stuff. I've seen a guy order Domino's pizza for a friend. And so like a pizza got delivered at like the middle of mess night to the friend. And then the person who ordered the pizza, obviously, or allegedly, then paints this whole public call-out story of the person who got the pizza delivered and is like, they violated all the rules, they got pizza, da da da. And so these get really fun because it's people with each other, it's people messing with each other, it's just, they're hilarious. And you can do public call-outs for things that actually happened like months prior or weeks prior, like so-and-so was late to PT or forgot to shave or married a stripper or whatever it is. But it's even more fun when it's like staged and the other person's like, damn it, you got me. Number 4 is parade the beef. I think this one's just funny. Legitimately, somebody walks around with the beef or the meal for the night, and everybody, the president of the mess has to approve it and taste it and decide it's feed the masses. And so often this involves like somebody with like a sword just carrying a steak around to be like, test the steak. And then they it becomes this whole goofy thing, but it's like treated very formally. Number 5 here is the toasts. And so this is a very formal and organized portion in which, like, heaven forbid, you mess up the toasts that you're required to recite because you will then be getting fined and called out for it later. But we do a lot of different toasts. So it'll be like, Mr. President, a toast to the Marines of Operation Iraqi Freedom. And then everyone goes, to the Marines of Operation Iraqi Freedom. And then, you do another toast and another toast and another toast. And then at the very end, there's a final toast where everybody pounds and finishes their beverage, right? So some of the toasts I'm just going to read off this list are to the United States, to the Marine Corps, to the Marines who came before us, specific battles, traditions, sacrifice. So just for sake here, I'm going to just read a couple of these off for you. The toasts then go, so like Mr. Vice, a toast to the Continental Marines who fought for freedom and liberty. And then Mr. Madam Vice says, ladies and gentlemen, a toast to the Continental Marines, and everyone goes to the Continental Marines. And so then you go 19th century, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, and you go on and on and on and on and on and on. There's a toast to the Marines currently deployed and on the forward edge of our nation's defense. And then Mr. and Madam Vice has their own toast, which is, I too have a toast, and it's about the POW KIA table. And then they'll do a Mr. Madam Vice, bring forth the rum punch, and so they'll refill everybody's glass right at the end. And the final toast is the vice president says, all glasses are charged. And then the president of the mess says, in 1776, one of the first recruiting posters ordered that recruits upon enlistment take courage then and seize the fortune that awaits you. Repair to the Marine rendezvous, wherein a flowing bowl of punch and 3 times 3 you shall drink. Pause. Long live the United States and success to the Marines. And then it's Mr. Madam Vice, a toast to the country and corps. And then Mr. Madam Vice says, ladies and gentlemen, a toast. Long live the United States and success to the Marines. And then everybody says it. The Marines hymn is played. And then you chug the entire thing. And then you go to the bar and you drink. You have to ask permission to speak, right? And that's for part of the call out piece, right? So you have to ask permission to speak, which is a whole process, because if you mess it up, especially because you're intoxicated, you have to pee, and you mess it up and they'll be like, nope, start over. And once you try to request to speak, it's like a game for them to find a reason to make you sit back down and try again, and it becomes this whole thing. It's fun.
Most military finance books are trash. The one I wrote actually helps service members and vets. So scan the QR code, click the link down below in the description, and grab your free PDF before you waste another paycheck.
And then we do, as I mentioned, the POW KIA, Fallen Marine ceremony. Occasionally we'll do these in camis, but generally speaking, this is in dress blues. So you're in your nicest uniform, drinking, holding your bladder, enjoying the grog, trying not to throw up, just making a fool of ourselves. And it's a genuinely good time if you've got a unit that actually participates and has fun. It's kind of one of those what you make of it. If everybody wants to call each other out and participate, these can go on for a while and they can be a ton of fun. Some of my favorite memories from the Marine Corps involve mess nights, but I can only imagine that if no one really participated, they would suck. And Marines just genuinely enjoy this. It's just a fun place to let loose. You can tease people that outrank you, and you can plant stuff on people that you outrank, and it's just a fun game. Mess nights are genuinely just a good time. And so the Marine Corps has a ton of traditions. Everybody knows about the Marine Corps birthday ball, promotion ceremonies, change of command. There's all kinds of ceremonial stuff for the Marine Corps, but the mess night is one that not a lot of people ever see. Outside of the Marine Corps, nobody ever really sees, and not a lot of people ever participate in. They don't happen a ton. So these are kind of the hush-hush secretive. I think in my 13 years, I did 3, maybe 4 of these. And so they're not super common. There's a lot of Marines who've never done them, but they're kind of mysterious, and they're a ton of fun. Great for unit camaraderie if done right.